Have you ever wondered how a pipe organ works? Hi, I'm Patrick Torsel, music director here at Mater Dei Latin Mass Community, and today we're in our beautiful chapel, St. Lawrence Chapel in downtown Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. We're going to take a little tour of our beautiful pipe organ and find out exactly how it works. Come on out. Here we are, home sweet home for the organist. And here we are at the organ console. Now, it's a common mistake for people to assume that the console here, where the keyboards are and all these knobs and levers, that this is the organ. But it's really not. This is just the sort of like the brains of the whole thing that controls it. So the organist sits here and he pushes a key and the note sounds, but this isn't the organ. This is, you can think of it almost like your computer keyboard and mouse. This is just for the input. It's the organ itself, the pipes and the wind, the air, that actually make up the instrument. Now we'll make our way back here to the console in a little bit, but first, let's go over and check out the blower room. Now this is where the first part of the real magic takes place, because unlike a piano, which makes sound by a hammer striking a string, or a digital organ which makes sound using computer recordings, a pipe organ makes all of its sounds with air, with wind, and the wind has to be supplied to the pipes, and that starts right here at the blower. Now I'm going to jump back over to the console and turn on the blower so that you can watch what happens, and I'll explain it when I get back. See that? Pretty cool. So what happens is, when I turn the switch on at the organ console, power is delivered to the electric blower motor inside this box down here, and that's what starts to, it's similar to a big fan that starts to move a lot of air. And then this, did you see the springs and everything lifted right up? This is a regulator that controls the amount of air pressure that's being delivered into the organ. So this is really where it all starts. The blower blows the air, the regulator controls the pressure. Now, over this side, there's a whole bank of these computer cards, and wires, and punch blocks. And, it almost looks like it's the inside of a phone PBX or an IT network closet at a big company. And it's really the same idea. All of these computer cards and all of these wires are controlling and sending the signals that actually control each of the individual elements of this organ. Now, this organ was originally built in 1885. I don't think they had this stuff in 1885. So let's go back out here and we'll talk a little bit about the history of this instrument, and then we'll climb inside the pipe chest and you can see what really goes on in the guts of this thing. This beautiful instrument was originally built in 1885 by an organ builder named Felgemacher. Now, the St. Lawrence Parish, for a variety of reasons, had to move to different church buildings over the years, and the building that we're in is the third building to bear the name. So this organ has moved around a little bit in its lifetime, but it was installed in this current building around 1917. Now, it was then completely overhauled and upgraded, expanded, revoiced in 2009 by a local organ builder, Brunner and Associates. So they did a lot of beautiful work, and that's where all that new computer and electronic componentry came from, was that 2009 upgrade and rebuild of this instrument. So we've got to take a look at where the wind comes from. We've seen the console. I think it's time to go in and see the pipe work and find out how this thing really makes sound. Come on in. Now, first things first, all that wind we talked about earlier from the blower has to get into the organ somehow. And it starts right here with this big wooden chase box. And that's where the primary wind comes over from the blower and the regulator and enters into the pipe chamber, where it can then supply the wind chests for each of the ranks of pipes. And once the air has made it over to the pipe chest, it still has to get to each individual wind chest, and so we have all of this little PVC piping here. And no, that's not the plumbing from the lavatory. That is for the wind to get it to the wind chest. And you see, even inside the pipe chamber, we have additional regulators to keep that air pressure proper for each and every rank of pipes. Now you'll notice that we talk about pipes in terms of ranks, and a rank is a set of pipes of a specific voice, and they're all lined up on a wind chest set into a toe board, and we'll take a look at what those look like inside. But each of those ranks of pipes has a specific type of sound, and the organist can control which sounds, which ranks are playing by selecting them from stops. And certain types of stops, like the draw knobs on the organ or the buttons that they choose, some stops actually control more than one rank of pipes. Others just control a single rank. Let's go in and take a look at them. Now inside an organ like this, there are literally thousands of pipes. This particular organ has about 1,600 pipes which it speaks from to make the beautiful music that we hear every Sunday at Mass. And there's different kinds of pipes. We have wooden pipes, we have metal pipes. Some make sounds that sound like trumpets. We call those kinds of pipes reed pipes. And they have a kind of a conical shape to them. Other pipes are flute pipes, and they may sound like flutes or the sort of typical organ sound that we talk about, the principal or the diapason sound. Some are made of metal, some are made of wood, and they come in all shapes and sizes, from little teeny tiny pipes all the way up to the humongous pipes that make all of the bass notes from the pedal division of the organ. Now the pipes themselves are interesting. They sit down in here in what's called a toe board in their wind chest. Each rank has its wind chest. And what happens is when the organist selects a stop, when he pulls a stop or selects the tab for the sound that he wants, he moves a slider that opens up and allows air into that wind chest. And then when he pushes the key for each note, it actually opens a valve at each pipe that lets the air then into the pipe. So the pipe is sitting down in this toe board. This is a part of the 4-foot principle from the grate. And then once that valve is open, air flows, and we get sound through the pipe. Now flute pipes like these are often tuned with these collars on top. See this little collar on top, it's a slightly different color, and it slides up and down. The longer the pipe, the lower the pitch. The shorter the pipe, the higher the pitch. So when the tuner comes, they can tap this little collar up and down to change the pitch of the pipe. Some other pipes have scrolls, tuning scrolls like these, which the tuners then can turn down or up to change the total length and area of the pipe to change the pitch. Now, reed pipes like this trumpet pipe from the 8-foot trumpet rank on the organ work a little bit differently. Down inside these pipes, there's a shallot and a tongue, and the air passes over this, and it causes this to vibrate, and it makes that trumpet tone. And this little doohickey here is the tuning slide, and so that slide can move up and down on the shallot and change the pitch of the reed pipe. Organs are not just broken up into different ranks of pipes, but they're also broken up into specific divisions. And when we talk about the division of an organ, we often have the great organ, and the swell organ, and the pedal organ. And really they are like each little individual organs. They're sets of pipes that go with one of the specific keyboards or with the pedal board at the console. So each of those divisions is often laid out in a particular way. Now the pipes we've been looking at so far in this main chest have mostly been the great, along with some of the pedal division. But we also have something called the swell division. Now the swell division is called an enclosed division, and that means that actually it's all in a box, and that box has shades that can open and close, just kind of like your window shades at home. It opens and closes, and when those swell shades open, the timbre changes and the sound gets louder, and when they close, you get that more reserved timbre and volume. Let's go in the swell and have a look at what's in there. So here we are inside the swell box, and all of these pipes are for the ranks of pipes used with the swell division of our organ. And if you're able to see, these over here are the swell shades, and when the swell closes, these shut. And this becomes an enclosed box, and that's what quiets the sound and kind of darkens the timbre. The diversity of the different types and shapes and materials of pipes is really quite something. It's even more amazing when you consider that the tuners have to come in here and tune each individual pipe. 1,600 of them in this organ, and some organs are many times that size. It's really quite something. We have all of these different kinds of pipes. We have, like I mentioned before, you have principals and flutes and reeds and strings, and we even have interesting things like this here. This is the cymbal stem. Makes a wonderful little bell sound. All right, well, having had a little look around in here and seen kind of the guts of the thing and how it works, let's head back to the console and do a little demonstration of the different voices of this particular organ. Come on. So what do each of those different types of pipes and voices sound like? Well, we always refer to the kind of basic organ sound as the principal, or the diapason, and that's, it's the organ sound. Now that's the 8-foot principal on the great division. Now we talk about the height of the pipe, 8 feet. That refers to the height of the lowest pipe in a particular rank. And an 8-foot pipe is right where you would expect it to be. So middle C is really middle C. But now if I choose a 4-foot principal, a 4-foot octave here, it is an octave higher. So the 4-foot is an octave higher than the 8-foot, and the 2-foot, playing the same middle C, is an octave higher than that. So when you combine them together, you get that kind of very distinctive organ sound. Now what about the flutes? That's the 8-foot whole flute on the great division of this instrument. And it also has a 4-foot flute d'amore on the great as well. Now some pipes are called mutations. A mutation pipe doesn't play the note that you're playing. So if I'm playing middle C, and I play a mutation like the 12th, which is a 2 2/3 foot stop, that's not a C. That's a C. I'm pushing the same key and getting a different note. Well, in this case, it's playing the 5th of each note that you play. And when you put them together, you get this sound. It's a bit of color and depth, doesn't it? Remember earlier when I said that some stops use more than one rank? Well, in this case, we have a 3-rank mixture that uses 3 ranks of pipes from the same stop. Now, there's some special things about mixtures that we're not going to get into about, breakpoints through the different keys, but mixtures just use different pipes playing the foundation note as well as mutations to create often that very bright sound. So when I play that mixture with an 8-foot, 4-foot, and a 2-foot principal, this is what I get. Pretty nice, isn't it? Now let's put our flutes together. So on the great, we only have an 8-foot and a 4-foot. That's the 8-foot alone. And that's with the 4-foot. Now when we round out the whole chorus of the great, we'll add all of the principals, 8, 4, and 2. We'll add the mixture. We'll add the 12th at 2 2/3. We're going to leave the strings out for now, but we'll have the 8 and 4-foot flute as well. Now at that point, I can't help but acknowledge that we really need the sound of a reed, so let's talk about the reeds for a minute. Remember the reeds had a different shape to them. They had the shallot and the tongue, and the air blows between the shallot and the tongue and makes the tongue like a reed on a reed instrument. It makes it vibrate, and that's what makes the sound. Well, they sound kind of like this. That's the 8-foot oboe on the swell division. That's the top keyboard, the swell. we have an 8-foot clarinet as well. And then the sort of the king of the reeds on this instrument is the 8-foot trumpet, which is actually in the great division, but we're able to select it to control it from the swell as well. Great is on the bottom, swell is on the top, and I can play the trumpet on either the great or the swell. We add that in with our full chorus of both flutes and principals on the great and use the trumpet as a solo stop. But we're also going to need some pedal stops. And those, remember I talked about 8 foot being kind of right where you expect it to be? Well, so 16 feet then is a whole octave below that. That's the sub-bass 16 foot, the big open diapason 16 foot, nice lieblich gedackt, nice and soft 16 foot. We have 8 foot stops in the pedals as well. Bass flute at 8 foot. Another flute at 8 foot. We have a choral bass at 4 feet, which can make a very nice solo in the pedal. And we also have an 8 foot octave, which of course is a principal stop. So now, I'm going to add some pedal stops in here. Let's see what that sounds like with a little solo on the reed. One final feature that many organs have is something called couplers. And these couplers connect the different divisions or keyboards together. For example, on this organ we have great to pedal, 8 feet. That means if I have a stop on the great, the bottom keyboard, like an 8-foot flute, I can actually play that from the pedals. We also have a great to pedal 4 foot. That means it's coupling to that stop on the great. But when you push the pedal, it sounds an octave higher. Same thing with swell to pedal 8 foot. If I have, for example, the oboe on the swell, I can play the oboe in the pedals. I can do it at 4 feet as well. And then we have the manual couplers here. So we have swell to great. That means when I push a key on the great, right now I have no stops on the great, so there's nothing sounding. But I do have the clarinet up there on the swell, but nothing on the great. However, if I select swell to great 8 foot, now the great controls the stops for the swell. 16 foot means it plays them an octave below. 8 foot, 16 foot. 4 foot is the octave above. You can play them all together. Now you have that note sounding in 3 different octaves at the same time. And that's really useful for when you're trying to fill out the big full organ sound. As I'm sure you could imagine, one of the most fun parts of being an organist is that kind of process of what we call registration, and that's choosing which specific stops you want to get the particular kind of sound that you want. Sometimes you want a loud, full organ sound, and other times you really just want a very soft and prayerful and meditative sound. But that's all part of the art and fun of playing the organ, is being able to come up with these different colors from the same instrument. They don't call it the king of instruments for nothing. It's like an orchestra, you know, that one person gets to play. If I were to use just the strings on this organ, here's the strings on the great. And here's the strings on the swell. Now if I use that 8-foot swell to great coupler, I can put them together. The same principle applies if you're trying to build up to the full organ. So the grate, with all of the grate stops, except the strings, sounds like this. It's a pretty full sound. Now the swell alone, with all of its stops except the strings, sounds like this. Now, add some pedal. But now let's couple it all together at 8 feet. 16. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little tour of our beautiful organ here at St. Lawrence Chapel in Mater Dei Latin Mass community. We certainly invite you to follow along with us on our website and on Facebook, as we're live streaming quite a bit and putting up some recordings. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, and of course, if you're in the Harrisburg area, come visit us sometime. God bless.